We will get to Nick Foles and the Eagles in a second, but first, Lakers-Kings from last night. De'Aaron Fox with the quick move toward the basket before slamming this one home.
What a spectacular second season this kid's having.
Ooh.
He was a star at Kentucky. He was a star in high school. Struggled a bit his rookie year. Has been the best player on a very good Kings team.
Yeah, good matchup last night, him and Lonzo. It was a good back-and-forth battle between the two of them.
You remember them from college, and the tournament went back and forth famous.
Oh, yeah. UCLA versus Big Blue.
Celtics Rockets, that was Kyrie driving, then hitting Clint Capella with a filthy behind-the-back move. Finishes with a little floater.
There was a sequence in this game where Kyrie and Harden were just going back and forth against each other up and down the court. It was very fun to watch. Kyrie was not quite as good as on Christmas Day, but very good once again.
Blazers Warriors, Draymond Green with an aggressive pass to Klay Thompson.
Yeah, I mean, right off his noggin.
Part of what the Warriors' problem was late in the game, not only this turnover, but Steph. Steph had the ball with the 2-point lead, turns the ball over. When the Warriors are susceptible to the rest of the NBA is when they make careless turnovers on the offensive end.
This was a play in NBA Street, but you did it to your opponent. Throw it right off his head, right back to you.
And then because you're a guy, you can't rub your head to make it feel better because you have to act like it really didn't hurt. I felt bad.
No, that hurt right there.
Texas Bowl, Baylor, Vanderbilt. Baylor's Denzel Mims can't make the catch in the end zone, but Vandy's Randall Haney can, securing the interception.
Oh, yeah, watch it. It hits off his knees, going to pop right up to the defender. Now, this is one of the few times I can't say this, Nick. You say he does the Michael Jackson in the end zone?
Keeps his heels up.
He's a defender. But you see where he went to school, where he's going to school at, right?
Yeah.
Vandy, so you know he's a fairly smart guy.
Oh, okay. So at Vandy, because it's such a good academic school, even the defenders are smart.
Oh, yeah. And particularly in that school, yeah. He's not there to try to boost or lower the GPA.
I got you.
They're all outstanding students.
Okay, good to know. A little nuance there.
That was not so much nuance. Moving on to the Eagles, the defending Super Bowl champs will be happy to just make the playoffs this year. Philly needs a win Sunday in Washington and a Bears win over the Vikings in Minnesota. And if we learned anything from last season's Eagles team with Nick Foles as quarterback, anything is possible. Nick Foles is starting Sunday. He's won his last 2 games. Just saying. Here's Foles on what it's going to take to get a win.
The thing that's going to win is like the brotherhood, being able to fight through adversity, because I always say it will happen. There will be mistakes made. I might throw a pick. I might fumble. But what are we going to do? Like, that's where we need to react and be confident and be positive, as opposed to, oh, man, like we're in trouble. And that's what you see with this team, you know. Happened last game. There was a lot of missed assignments. There was a couple turnovers. We didn't play our cleanest ball. But we played well. We played at a high speed because we weren't afraid of making mistakes, and we were playing for one another. Defense was playing for offense. Offense was playing for defense. Special teams holds it all together. I mean, that's how we play. That's how we win. It's not going to be perfect, and I think we showed that last Sunday playing against a really good Texans team. It takes 60 minutes and it takes everyone, but if you have that brotherhood and you know how to fight through adversity, you can win any game.
Nick Foles is a great soundbite. There are very few press conferences where you walk away saying, oh, I don't really catch on to what he was saying. He knows how to rally this team. But see, do the Eagles really have a shot? Can they win this game this weekend?
I think for television, and people would love to, people want to see a great story. Last year, it was a great story, but we forgot some of the parts about it. They were the best team in the NFC. They had home field advantage. They didn't play a great game in the game against Atlanta, and they got out of that game barely. And then that's when they played 8 great quarters of football. That started against Minnesota and continued on to the Super Bowl. So where they are now compared to, because they were the best, and they got the bye week. So now we have to bake a lot of things into, oh, can they do this again? It's totally different. Now, I believe that there's 3 superior teams in the NFC, that being New Orleans, the Rams, and I believe the Chicago Bears. Are they legitimate? Do I believe that they can make it into that divisional round? No, I don't think so, because they're going to have to go on the road. No, and I know right now they're playing better football, but ultimately you're in the position you're in with the Eagles for a reason. They've been on the field 15 times. 7 times they've come off a loser. So it's not some magic button you can push. As you can see in the last couple games, those games could have gone either way. So legitimate to me is winning in the divisional round. Can they go on the road and be able to beat one of those teams? And I don't think that to me is legitimate, and I don't think the Eagles are legitimate.
So, but you think they could theoretically win that first round game against the Bears?
Well, all those teams are equal. You got the Vikings, Seahawks, Cowboys, and all those teams to me are lumped into one basket.
No, agree. But if the Eagles, if they get in, you ask, can they win? You don't mean this weekend.
No,
you
I mean can they get into the playoffs?
Because I think most of us expect them to beat Josh Johnson in Washington this weekend. And if they get in, they would be playing Chicago. They'd be playing Chicago in that opening round because they're the 6th seed. It'd be either be playing Chicago or technically they could play the Rams. Could they beat Chicago? I think Chicago's second best team in the NFC right now. If you tell me the Saints aren't going to make the Super Bowl, pick a team from the NFC, Chicago would be my pick. I think Chicago's excellent. I think it's going to be hard for any team to go into Soldier Field and beat that defense. But I also don't know what that offense is going to look like in its first playoff game. I don't know what Mitch Trubisky is going to look like in his first playoff game. So do I think it's possible that the Eagles, if they win 3 in a row, which is what they would have had to do to get in that position, could get pressure on Mitch Trubisky, could keep this to a low scoring, a 13-10 game late? Absolutely. So do I think they could? To me, success would be a legitimate threat, would be just getting to the divisional round, being the 6th seed, upsetting the Bears, and they would have to go to New Orleans. Can I see a realistic path for this Philly team to then go after, if they were first they got to beat Chicago and then go to New Orleans? No, I don't think they're going to do that. Yesterday, the premise of what the Foles versus Wentz thing was assuming things that nobody thinks are going to happen, which is that they win 3 consecutive road playoff games. It's going to be hard for them to win 1 road playoff game, much less the 3 they would need to get to the Super Bowl. Their path is, because they're not the 1 seed, they don't have a bye, and they don't have home field. Their path is going to be as hard of a path as you can get. And by the way, there was a brief time in the late 2000s, I guess, where wildcard teams made the Super Bowl a bunch. The last wildcard team to make a Super Bowl was the Packers championship team with Aaron Rodgers in 2010. So it's been a long time since a team has taken the path the Eagles would have to take to the Super Bowl. Obviously, we've seen some wildcard teams upset some teams, but I don't think they can go to the Bears and then to the Saints and win both those games.
Take Nick Foles out of it. How much better was last year's Eagles team heading into Week 17 than this year's Eagles team?
Significantly better. Significantly better as far as the confidence we had in the 7-man rotation, the amount of time or lack of time you were going to have to throw the football. Their offensive line, Jason Peters, their best offensive lineman, out. Man, that offensive line unit was tremendous. They were dominant. They played with an edge, and they gave the quarterback, Nick Foles, plenty of time to be able to throw. I thought from a game planning standpoint, you have to realize John DeFilippo, Frank Wright, and Duckby, all these guys in one brain trust. Yep. So they had a number of things. Their secondary, they had career years in their secondary. So all across the board, they were playing significantly better football than the other teams in the NFC, and they are a significantly better football team than the team that's going onto the field on Sunday.
And even if they were the exact same at every other level, let's say that all of a sudden this Eagles team is going to recapture the pass rush. The secondary is not going to be abysmal. They're going to get more of a running game. Even if all that happened, I don't think last year's team makes the Super Bowl with the path that this year's team has to take. Like, if they are, instead of being at home against Atlanta, they're on the road in a game like that. I know that they ended up blowing out the Vikings in the NFC Championship game we were at, but see, that crowd carried them early. When it looked like the Vikings scored a touchdown to go up 7, were driving again, and then a Case Keenum pick 6, and the stadium erupted, and they seemed to ride that wave the rest of the game. So even if this team can recapture its pass rush, secondary can play better, all those things, the path is so much more difficult this year.
And the point I was making was, it's not just the quarterback. It's not just, oh, Nick Foles is there, it's going to happen again. This is a significantly different team, for the most part, talent-wise, than you had last year.
It's significant. It's different in how they attack people. It's different how they have responded. But the truth of the matter is, Nick talked about Mitch Trubisky and the Chicago offense. You don't know if the Philadelphia gets into the offense. You don't know which Nick Foles is going to show up to the game. No, so you don't know which Nick Foles is going to show up at Washington. Now, they are so much better than Washington as far from all across the board. They should win that game. But the first game of the playoff, anyone who says, I know how Nick Foles is going to play, is flat lying. So if Carson Wentz was in there and the team was trending up, I would have far more confidence because the quarterback play would be far more predictable of what's going to happen.
All right, time now for Nick's Fantasy Update, sponsored by DraftKings. DraftKings is the leader in one-week fantasy football, and this weekend it's your last chance to get in on the action during the regular season. This Sunday, DraftKings has a $1 million NFL contest that you can play for free. There's still time to play. Download the DraftKings app today, and don't forget to use the promo code FS1 to play free for your share of $1 million. DraftKings, the game inside the game. All right, Nick, who is your sleeper pick for this Sunday's contest?
All right, so sleeper pick means someone you can get relatively cheaply you think is going to produce. I'm going to go with the guy who just got a new contract, a guy who I think is going to be used a ton this weekend. That's Kansas City Chiefs running back Damian Williams. He had 100 yards rushing last week, and the week before he had over 100 yards from scrimmage. He was a pending free agent. They just gave him 2 years, $8 million. I think they're going to use him a ton to try to keep Pat Mahomes as limited vulnerability as possible in this game. He's only $5,100 DraftKings dollars against a terrible Raiders defense. So Damian Williams, I think, is good value if you're going to play in that Week 17 $1 million
Also
contest.
a three-down threat. He can play out a backfield, third down, look for him to get some receptions to be able to add to his overall value.
Damian Williams it is. All right, got to take a break. Coming up, can Kirk Cousins carry the Vikings into the playoffs? That's next on First Things First.